into this late. So where are you today? To repeat what you said at the
We're
beginning.
slightly underweight global equities, heavily underweight in the U.S. outside the quarter of the market that are the great Coca-Cola franchise companies. And I'm not touting Coca-Cola. I'm just using them as a generic.
Yeah.
So it's not a terrible outlier situation like Japan that we described or so on. It's just be careful when you're buying ordinary American stuff.
Do you see a bubble out there?
Well, the nice thing about bubbles is you don't have to predict them. You just wait and see. And when you see one, you jump.
Okay, but I mean, are you seeing one?
You wanted me to guess?
Oh, yes, I want you to guess.
Okay.
What bubble and when?
I think Bernanke is, as I was writing, is whipping this donkey that can only grow at 1%, this economy, because he thinks it's a racehorse that should be growing at 3%. So he's going to keep on whipping this donkey.
This donkey can't run.
Until it either drops dead or turns into a racehorse,
Yeah, right.
Which is
and
unlikely.
You're betting on dead.
And I'm betting on dead. So it is a very unsafe situation to have the most powerful person in the economic world by far.
Yeah.
The
But he's
chairman
trying
of
to
the
do
Fed.
something. I mean, he's trying to use the Fed to create employment. How about that?
And they don't have the tools to generate employment. They shouldn't have that in their mandate. They should just have in their mandate
So low interest
stable
rates and
prices.
stimulus won't do it.
No, absolutely not. You need fiscal means. If you have people unemployed, by all means do useful projects to employ them. Go and install sensible solar panels.
Right.
What I'm trying to say is insulation.
Right.
Go and insulate every northeast and every cold area. It'll have a high societal return.
Yeah.
You'll never regret it.
So
Redo the grid system. You'll never regret it.
Right. So in other words, you're saying if we want to create jobs to build something we need.
Absolutely. And debt is vastly exaggerated, which is
let me hear that. Debt is exaggerated?
Yes, it's a huge topic.
So you and Paul Krugman are right on, correct? You and Krugman are one of the same voice.
Let me tell you something about debt. In 1982, if you added all the debt up, it was 1.25 times the size of the GDP. And it had been fairly flat for a long time, drifting slowly up. And then it kinks 45 degrees, and it goes shooting up steadily without too much volatility. It just goes straight up. 1982. It kinks, and it goes steadily upwards to 3.5 times. So we had this amazing...
This is when Ronald Reagan was president. 82.
Yes, right. And so we had this amazing experiment, the biggest economy in the world, almost tripling its ratio of debt over a block of time that really counts, 30 years. And what happened in terms of the growth rate of the system? It slowed way down. Now, there are other reasons, I grant you that. But there's no room in that equation to believe that increasing debt has anything to do with long-term growth, is there? That you triple it, what more can you do? And the growth rate of our system slowed materially? It's so contrary, isn't it? That they're the facts. They're so contrary to the general belief. We have been conned into believing by the financial world that debt is everything. Let a bank go, oh my God, it would be the end of the world. There are plenty of reasons why this economy collapsed, by the way, quite sufficient. You don't even have to use anything to do with the collapse of the financial system. We had a housing bust. We had a housing 1 in 10,000 year event. If that was to go back to trend, you were going to lose 10, 11, 12 trillion dollars. Everyone was going to feel poor. It was going to devastate consumer spending and consumer confidence. Secondly, you had the price of oil triple. Look what happened in the oil crisis of 74 and 79. They had a big recession each time. So you not only triple the price of oil, you triple the price of food, you triple the price of copper, of all the metals. Why would that not have caused a major recession? So you had two great reasons. The housing market collapsed and the commodities had just squeezed you to death. You don't need a third reason to explain why we had the most serious recession. And the housing market alone explains why it's been very, very slow to recover. Because there's nothing more dangerous than messing with houses.
See, you are, you are an unreconstructed, you're just a pure Keynesian, aren't you?
I'm a pure numbers guy, and if it
No, but I mean, you're a
me
proud
to
Keynesian, are you not?
no, I wouldn't say that.
Well, why would you not say that?
Because I'm a great admirer of Chapter 12 of the General Theory, which is about the stock market. He was wonderful in the stock market. He was about 60 years ahead of the economic world. You don't know how many years ahead he was because they still haven't caught up. He basically said it's animal spirits, guys. That can mess up everything. And he pointed out the game we play in the stock market is managing your career. Mm-hmm. Never make a bet on your own.
Would Keynes have agreed with you about debt?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's such a different world now. The levels of debt are so much higher. He would probably have some ingenious new theory.
Okay, but I mean, most people believe that we do have. I mean, they look at the percentage of GDP to debt, or debt to GDP. Yeah.
Well, I can prove that debt does not generate long-term growth. And I've given you the numbers.
It does not prevent.
It doesn't cause long-term growth. It doesn't create it. Debt. We tripled the debt and GDP growth rate went down. There's no evidence that increasing debt increases GDP. And yet that mandate has been given to Bernanke, who thinks, apparently, that it does. By keeping interest rates low, you are transferring money away from retirees who spend every penny and are really hurting. And by the way, there's far more of them every year now than there ever was when economic theories were being panned out. You take money from them, and who are the beneficiaries? The guys who run the hedge funds and the banking system in general, and speculators. And corporations theoretically can use it to build, but they're building less now than practically in history. There is no major league capital spending boom going on.
What should be the levels, for example, of new revenues to spending cuts?
Let me say, I am not an expert in this, and I don't want to represent myself as such. It's wickedly complicated. I have enough trouble in the stock market where life is simple. The economy is extremely difficult. The debt in the long run is not as significant as people think. How you manage debt is an art form.
Right.
Whether you do it this year, next year, how you spread these things out, how high is too high. I have not spent my career in those areas. I guess that it's substantially too high. I guess that you shouldn't try and make it low in a hurry, but you should have a 20-year plan to chip away.
That's what I was saying.
We've gotten ourselves into a bit of a rat hole, and we should be careful getting out of it. But it is not the overwhelming thing that will dominate our future. What it does is it distracts us from the real world. Debt is an accounting world. It's paper. The real world is the quantity and quality of your people and the quantity and quality of your capital spending. Are you building new machines? Are you being inventive? Are you training your people? Is your high school system delivering the same education that it used to relative to the South Koreans, relative to the Norwegians? No, it's not. We should worry more about the real world and less about the paper world. And somehow we're in this death grip that only paper things matter. And so there's much too little attention spent on education, training, and capital spending, finding a way to beef it up. And also, I'd rather stimulate the economy directly through government spending than I would like to play games with the monetary system and games with the interest rate, inflicting great wounds on retirees and so on.
I tweeted
and transferring wealth to people who won't spend
yesterday.
it. We're transferring wealth from the poor to the rich by keeping interest rates low. I'm not even sure the economy gains at all by a low interest rate. And furthermore, no one's established convincingly that it's a good idea. It's a tradition that it's a good idea. But that's not the same. We've had lots of traditions. Like the market would look after itself, that people wouldn't be crooks because economic theory assumes that they're not. But they often were crooks and greedy and short-term oriented and willing to dance until the music stopped. Although Asora said the music had actually stopped long before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure.
Yes, it was fun.
Lots of things you have said that I think people will think about and talk about, and we will continue the conversation at another time.
I look forward to it.
as we have more numbers.
Yes.